Hello, everybody, and welcome once more to Felix and I. It's been quite a time since we've done something together, hasn't it, Felix?
It has indeed, yeah, yeah. We've both been very busy with our courses and books and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So we've lifted our noses out of them for a short time, and we just felt it was a good time to get together and have some more of our chats, really, and see where they go.
yeah.
So, yeah, we thought today we're going to start by talking about the soul matrix, because this is the energies that we're moving into or have moved into. The shift of the earth, the planetary shift of the earth has moved into the lower fourth dimensional fields, and these are the fields of the soul matrix. So we'll talk a little bit about what the soul matrix is, maybe some of the histories that are held within that, and also the mechanics of it, which I shall leave to Felix because he's so much better at that than I am. Sound good, Felix?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, go right for it.
Right. Okay. So, um, the soul matrix is the really the second level of consciousness within that we work with. The initial matrix that we've all been in for absolutely ages is the ego personality matrix level of consciousness, which is dimensions one, two, and three. Um, the movement, the shift, the ascension, energies that are taking place now have been lifting us into the next level of consciousness, which is the soul level. Now, the soul level is the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional levels, but more importantly, it's moving us from the head, the very mental, ego-based way of being, thinking, acting, living into a much more heart-centered way. And I think a lot of people have been doing that. A lot of people have been doing this for quite a long time. And more people are really opening up to it now because we are in the lower frequency levels, or the planet is in the lower frequency levels of this. Now, the fourth dimensional level is called the astral level. And this has been a very, and still is to a degree, so we do have to have a degree of wariness about it, has been um, very interfered with, is probably a good way of saying it. It's the coming through from the third dimensional level to the fourth dimensional level. You're going through a barrier, you're raising yourself to a different level of consciousness. And the powers that be, the dark forces that we have had and still have to a degree on the planet, have done everything to make sure that hasn't happened. So they very much frequent with all of their dark machinery and AI and mind control programs and things like that. They have really littered the lower levels of the astral with stuff to stop us moving through it. Or if we do get into that level, we get caught in one of their many consciousness traps and recycled, and all sorts of things like that. I don't want to go into all the negative stuff, because we are clearing it, we are moving through it, we are moving beyond it. But it's worth being aware, I think, that it's not all plain sailing. There's a lot of rocks that will be thrown in your way, so you need to be wary and just have a weather eye out. But as I said, moving into the soul matrix level of consciousness is about moving into a much more heart-based way of being. So rather than running stuff through, how does that sound? How does that how does that affect me? Everything going through at a head level, you drop it into your heart and feel it, and
Mhm.
feel, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? Is this aligned with me? It's about bringing you more back to yourself. We have been very fragmented, very taken away from our core essence. And as we move through levels of consciousness, we're coming back step by step by step back into alignment with ourselves. So as we start to work more and more through our heart, we start to regain that alignment. Um, Yeah, anything to add to that,
No,
Felix?
that was wonderful. Yeah, you really nailed that. What I would say is the soul matrix really activates through the raising of the frequency. So if you want the heart to kind of work in a healthy way to kind of start activating the soul matrix, number one, raising your vibration, stepping out of these old behaviors to be able to create a foundational base of love-based patterns, love-based consciousness, that generates enough charge to kind of open the soul matrix in and of itself. Now we'll just jump up to the sixth layer, which is the celestial mind. Imagine when we're thinking about something, usually we've got a very linear format of thinking. We're thinking it's this or it's that, or, very narrow on the avenues. But when we go up to the soul matrix, it's like looking through the eyes of a wasp or the eyes of a fly. You've got
Mm,
all of these multi layered perspectives that can all be seen simultaneously. And when we start activating the heart, the awareness of that multi-layered perspective opens up very, very smoothly and easily. So when we're looking through these multi-layered eyes, let's say, or the eyes of the soul, whatever your intention of looking at something, it will relay back to you multiple degrees of information, timelines, trajectories, packets of information that is being kind of gauged in and out of your field through feeling. So you're using the eyes of feeling to read this information and understand the depth and degree of the information through the eyes of the soul. Now, the next layer in between the astral and the celestial is the archetypal field, and it's these archetypal ranges that feed and filter information back into the eyes of the soul. So the archetypal layers basically hold a service to self or service to other positive or negative polarity within that. So the fifth dimensional field still holds polarity to relay information to you at the soul's level, to be able to gauge and understand the depth of the storyline behind it through the archetypal resonance and the archetypal reasoning. And that gives you the ability to process and pull the information through.
mm,
So you've got at the astral level, you'll have the feeling, sensorial system, and clairvoyant system all opening up there as well. But this one involves raising your frequency up to tap into something of a higher nature. And even if you're looking at something more lower down, which to begin with, you may start off doing that, which is quite a normal process. And the reason being is because the feeling doesn't just stop with good or bad.
mm.
So it encompasses the all. And that's the idea of when we kind of develop ourselves to create wholeness and not step into spiritual bypassing. Because if we're stepping into spiritual bypassing and just choosing one over the other, we're only gauging one set of information, but the other will still kind of creep up. But then it will come in more so as a trigger point.
Yeah,
So
it will bite you on the bum, won't it? But when you least expect it.
yeah,
So
it will absolutely. And then
you
what the
ignore it at your peril.
yeah, the that kind of mindset will actually create a perception that would look like, oh my God, I'm under attack, because you've avoided and you've suppressed a big chunk of
Mm,
the way you're seeing things, the way you're communicating with things. So when we kind of round ourselves up with being able to accept the good and the bad, this then gives us a more healthier, balanced understanding as we're kind of translating this through the archetypes into the celestial mind and backwards and forwards. So working with all three, you work with all three minds simultaneously. And this is how you kind of pull in the layers of the information all in one go. And that's what makes up the experience of the soul. So as you're going through that, your sensory system can become quite overwhelmed. But through the process of soul integration, you're then developing yourself to be able to sit within that field and absorb it and, not be triggered, not run away from it. Because if you ever wake up from a dream and you feel those intense emotional charges, it's the same sensation when you do kind of astral projection or astral traveling and things like that, and also remote viewing, because it's the same process.
yeah.
You're just asleep when you do it. when you have like a lucid dream and then have all the information that kind of comes in at the same time. So it will have a slightly different vibration, but I don't want to get into specifics on this one. It's more so about the mechanics.
Mm.
So you'll work with it in this way. You'll have your vibration rising to soften the heart and open it and create peace in the body to allow you to slip in and out of a state of kind of trance-like state. This then opens up the visionary information, which would relay literal, metaphoric, paradoxical layers of thinking within the astral mind, which also correlates into the archetypal reasoning, the archetypal themes and memories that would relay as core themes within the vision. That can then be broken down as archetypal imagery to then be understood. And then that gets fed into this hexagonal, multi-layered, celestial perspective. So you're able to drive in and out of these different degrees of information. So as you kind of fall into them, you're being taken into all of the splits, you're taken into all of the potentials, all of the kind of the timelines and the offshoots and the what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember. It's like when the probabilities, thank you. Yeah, so you're also taken into the probabilities of what, if you move in this way, what's going to happen there? If you move in that way, what will happen there? And we're looking at that when we're reading a subject. So you're pulling in all of this different information, and that is being relayed back to the reasoning mind for you to then categorize it, organize it, and understand it from a physical perspective. This then updates the chakra system. It allows the ability to interpret information much more coherently, and it also adapts the physical mind, the reasoning mind, to be able to interpret things in a multidimensional fashion. So it is a brain training exercise. You're stretching your consciousness to be able to adapt that, and that builds the neural pathways to be able to look at your reality in a very different way. And that is the kind of the overall goal of evolution, is to kind of stretch and mold the consciousness to be able to absorb all of this information in all of these different levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's an expansion. So it's kind of like your envelope gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, I think the soul matrix, moving through particularly the lower aspects of the soul matrix, can initially be very challenging because as you start to drop into the heart, as you start to open up and work through the heart much more, the heart's woundings come out.
Oh yeah.
And you know, by God, we're also, we have been so wounded at that level, not just from, you know, maybe other people, but just you know, the constructs we've been forced to exist within are so unkind to us at so many levels, and we've all got such traumas that live in the past. You know, there are people about us being a race with amnesia, or a race who has almost permanent what do they call it, that PTSD?
Yeah, PTSD or CPS.
Yeah,
CPTSD.
it's kind of because we have been so traumatized by so many of the experiences that have been deliberately inflicted on us in the past. And so we're having to come to an awareness of a lot of these things and move and deal with them and move through them, let them go, because they're blockages in our system, effectively, if we hold on to them. So it can be painful, but if you can, Felix has given you, you know, a brilliant construct there. I mean, he's sort of given you a structure that you can work through and work with that would, I mean, I would have loved to have had that when I was doing all of this work, Felix. I really would have. It would have helped my mind. Because I mean, what you're doing in this process is you're expanding your emotional intelligence. You know, the ego personality is very much about IQ. When you're dropping into the soul matrix, it's very much about developing EQ, emotional intelligence. And so you're learning really mastery at that level, and we have to learn mastery at that level because we can't go further if we don't know how to deal with our
Mm,
emotions and don't know how to run them through our system and to let go of what's not helpful and how to categorize and understand them.
mm,
We won't be able to expand further because it will become like a break on that expansion if we don't deal with it.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, and there are histories that go with each of these levels as well that are going to I mean I see them like skeletons in a cupboard. They come out and they kind of rattle themselves around and dance on the table in front of you.
mm, mhm,
um the less the astral level, as I say, there's so much soul wounding, but we're moving into the archetypal level, the fifth dimensional level.
mm,
And just the word archetypes, I think, is so useful to help us understand the archetypes that we're running very strongly in our lives, and
mm,
we are. Each of us embodies certain things.
mm,
I know Felix is doing some work on that in one or two of the courses he does, but there's a lot of information about archetypes out there. I've
mhm,
done work on it myself in the past.
mhm, mhm,
But yeah, just understanding that for example, I don't run a strong mother archetype. That doesn't mean I'm defective in any way. It just means that's not an important part of what I'm dealing with when I'm here. But there are other archetypes that are, feature very, very strongly within my field, within my energy field. And it's kind of like, well, understanding each archetype has a negative and a positive to it. So there can be a negative expression of it and a positive expression, and try and work out where you're dealing with it and how you can shift it to the right side. If so, these are tools for you to use to help you through it.
mm,
Um, and we have also at the fifth dimensional level, very interesting. If we go into the histories, we have the Taran histories here, don't we?
mhm, mhm,
And the Taran histories are humanity was originally its first seeding. It's when it was first created, it was first located on the fifth dimensional level of Earth, where humanity developed for a long time. And I'm not going to go into all of the histories at this moment. I'm almost finished writing a book about them, so it's kind of like, oh, it's all pouring out my head at the moment.
mm,
Um, but but you know, Tara fell. There was part of Tara exploded because of things that were being done, and etc. etc. And Tara fell. There was a
mm,
massive, massive catastrophe. We think of the catastrophe of Atlantis that we're aware of.
mm,
Now imagine that magnified.
mm,
And a lot of the morphogenetic fields of Tara, a lot of fragmented souls, consciousness fields
mm,
fell into the third dimension. And we are here dealing with the consequences of that and playing out some of the echoes of it again, as it were. So unrecognized, because we haven't been given these histories, we haven't been given the understandings and the education around all of this. The echoes of this are in that field as well. When we touch back into the fifth dimensional fields and start to work with them, we're going to be those of us who at any level participated in the Taran
mm,
creations and seedings and were part of that in our past histories will be having echoes of that come back because we're in that frequency field.
mhm,
And then, we move on to the next frequency field, which is the sixth dimensional harmonics.
mhm,
And we're into Syrian histories. And so be aware that some of the things that come out and dance on the table
mhm,
are going to be they're not just pulling out of the multidimensional timelines, but they're pulling out of our histories as well,
mm,
which is why it's worth having an understanding of them. Yes, they're your memories, but they're also our race memories that we're all clearing.
Hmm.
because we're working on behalf of the planet, we're working on behalf of
Hmm.
those who are not awake as well.
Yeah, it was interesting with the archetypal mind. I had a memory coming up the other day of the morphogenetic fields of Tara being pulled into the sun.
Mm,
And that came in very strongly, but the trauma of the consciousness that of the inhabitants of Tara that were kind of locked into the grids there. So there'd been a blending of race and planet together in the grids that was pulled through the sun, and the trauma of that
mm,
um, was a big wound in the soul, because there's always this kind of fear of the unknown. But then there's, on the other side of it, there is the actually I survived, and we've got this blending of the two together. So
yeah.
when you blend the two together, it creates a kind of oppositional polarity force where you're having to kind of integrate the opposites to kind of bring them back to the 0 point, and that creates the stability and that starts to heal the soul.
Mm,
Another one would be um, the fighting for your faith is a big old distortion that's kind of come in, because the faith that, well, depends on your faith, I suppose. But my one would be Christianity, spiritual Christianity, um, where we're taught to fight for Christ in the era of like the Crusades, but in actual fact, Christ wouldn't want you to fight at all.
mm,
And this is what we're seeing playing out on a third dimensional level, or third, lower, fourth dimensional level, where everyone's kind of going at each other for religious purposes. And this is exactly what the Dark Overlord structure wants.
part of the separation, isn't
Yeah. And that then creates a huge wounding within the soul, because it's lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, contention and fighting for your faith, which is heavily betraying your soul, because your soul doesn't want that either. And
I,
that,
I, I would use a different word as well. I would use religion rather than faith.
well, yeah, 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 we can use,
Because it
yeah.
it's it you know these organized religions with their dogmas and
Mm,
their rules and their we're better than you and my God
yeah,
better than yours and all of this that
perfect. Yeah,
that
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
that caused this.
So you've got all of that that's playing a massive impact on the soul in the fourth level, which is really sealing up and closing up the heart. So it comes to a point of asking, well, when are we just going to come into a state of love? When are we going to just come into a state of peace with each other and realize that nobody's better? We all come from the same place. And that then allows the heart to kind of start to decompress and get over the betrayal that we've done to ourselves, and also the warrior war archetypal histories that we've been playing out at the fifth level. And also, just to add in one more thing as well, usually when we're working out the level beneath us, so if we're working out, say, like the third dimensional field, we go up to the fourth to work out the third.
Yeah.
And if we want to work out the fourth, we go up to the fifth. And if we want to
Like
work
having
out the fifth, we go out the
that
sixth.
expanded,
Yeah,
yeah, it's an expanded view, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. So in this case, I've also found a lot of people have come in with a very activated sixth strand, and these would kind of relate to the indigos.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
the fourth and the fifth are heavily damaged.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of impact around the heart and the throat and the self-expression. But the third eye is quite good at seeing things more
Yeah.
clearly. It takes a lot of work to get there, but and sometimes through your own personal life, you will have had a lot of trauma that's kind of come up
Yeah.
around that, and we just
Uh,
want to kind of bring that back.
yeah, and star seeds have been very heavily targeted at the fourth and the fifth level
Mm,
because the job of the star seed, they come in with three strand, dimensions 1, 2, and 3 activated, and they've got the sixth dimensional strand activated, and they have to do the work of clearing and activating the fourth and the fifth
mm,
in order to then move into the full ability to span that range and
mm,
move on to the next level.
mm-hmm,
And so everything has been targeted at the fourth and the fifth level with star seeds to stop them.
Yeah.
completing that process or being successful in that process.
Mm.
A lot of soul wounding,
Hmm.
huge amounts of soul wounding,
Hmm.
to prevent the healing of the heart.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's a lot to kind of go through, but it all makes it easy down the line as you're working into it. And
Yeah,
just
and
yeah, go on.
it's just maybe just to just finish up on a quick note about, I don't know how long we've been going for, but
25 minutes.
I don't know how long you want to talk about this for, but yeah, the at the light body level, as you move from the ego personality matrix into the next level, your lower chakras start to become a unified light column. Now, the same is happening as you move through the soul matrix level. Your upper chakras start to become a unified light column as you, shall we say, conquer each level, as it were, or master is a better word, isn't it? Not quite so militant. As you master each level. So it's worth being aware, as your consciousness expands, so your light body begins to alter and change. There's Felix talked about frequency. Higher levels of frequency come into it. You can hold higher levels of frequency
Mm.
in the envelope of your light body and run
Hmm.
higher frequencies. Um, and when we're in the sixth, when we've reached the sixth level, we're beginning to do what is called building wings. It's a process of where, if effectively, it's to do with the gender split within,
Mm.
yeah, within the way we run our energy. We run
Hmm.
electrical, magnetic energy, we run feminine and masculine energy, and it needs to be brought together in unity in a whole. We start the process of that at the sixth dimensional level. Once,
Let, let's get into that one in the next video.
okay, yeah. As I say, but at the sixth level, the first wing begins to form. So I think it's just worth saying that. And I also sort of say that the soul matrix level, these different levels of consciousness, the ego personality is like being on the forest floor. You're standing and you're looking around you from that level. The soul matrix takes you up into the trees. You're sitting in the treetops. It's a very, very different perspective. And as a consequence, as you open the heart, you work with much more compassion for yourself and for your fellow man, don't you?
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So it
Wonderful.
actually is, it's difficult. I mean, I don't think we're going to bullshit you at that level. Some
Yeah.
of it can be difficult, but and quite painful. But people like Felix are here to help you through it. I mean, I wish I'd had a Felix when I was doing this. I'd have got through it so much better and so much faster. But
Very
hey,
grateful to have a Saira helping me as well with putting some histories together and validating what I'm experiencing too. So yeah,
mm,
it's a lovely combination.
it is.
So
Mm,
yeah, thank you all so much for joining today. It's been lovely to catch up with you all again and do some more videos. So yeah,
yeah.
thanks everyone. Bye.